Hi, this is Kevin. Welcome to my introduction lecture for IS439 in the summer of 2023. So here's what we're going to go through in this recording. Um, I accidentally created some confusion about the scheduling, so I'm going to clear that up. I made an announcement already. I think it's already cleared up, but I want to make sure that that's taken care of. I'll introduce myself a bit. I want to give you a few important facts about the course, just as a way to get you oriented. And then we're going to go through three important resources for the course. Um, our site for the course on Canvas, the weekly schedule, and we're going to review the syllabus. So let's get started. Okay. Um, the scheduling confusion was what time on Tuesday were we going to meet? And I somehow came to believe it was in the afternoon. And today, Monday, we had an online lab at 4 p.m. And one student was able to make it. And he came by and said, "You know what? I think you've got the time of the class wrong." I looked in my official schedule, and it's on Tuesday evening from 6. I think it's officially in the schedule from 6 p.m. till 7:55, which to me translates from 6 to 8. I went and confirmed that, and whereas I don't know where I went wrong, I do know that this is the true time. And to the extent that there was confusion, it was my responsibility, my mistake. And to the extent that I've inconvenienced you, I humbly apologize. I don't know how it happened. But expect us all to meet online on Zoom on Tuesday evenings from 6 to 8. Okay, introducing me. So I'm Kevin Trainer. I've been an instructor at the iSchool now for 15 years. And a lot of that time I was an adjunct. Some of that time I was a full time instructor at another iSchool. But for the last 3 years, I've been full time at the iSchool. And I teach a handful of courses, mostly IT related. And this particular course, IS439, um, Web Development Using Application Frameworks, I created back in 2018. And for a while, I taught it at the other iSchool in here. So I've taught this a lot of times. And it's a fun course. And uh, uh, it's about things that I like to do, right? So I've been involved in the IT field for a very long time, 40 to 50 years. And in that time, I've done a lot of things, including been a developer and a project manager and uh, a technical director and a consulting firm executive and all those kinds of things. And if you want to know more about what I've done, um, you could look for me on LinkedIn where it's all reported. But in recent years, I've been training people in technical things. And in the last 15 years, I've been doing it in higher education. And I really like this. And what we're learning in this particular course is something that I like to do. So I picked this web framework idea because I like to work with web frameworks. I've got some web applications of my own, and I wanted to pick a new web framework, and I picked Django. So these days, whenever I have some kind of a web application to create, I use Django because it's what we use in the course, and it keeps me current. And um, I have a lot of fun with that, and I have a lot of fun in this course. So that's all I'm going to say about me right now. But maybe when we introduce ourselves on Tuesday night, I might say a little bit more. Okay, a few important facts about this course. So, this is a course where we learn about and we talk about back end web frameworks generally. Okay, so, and then meanwhile, we're working with one back end web framework in particular, that's Django. And how did we pick it? Well, we picked it for a couple of reasons. One, it's very popular. It has a lot of users. It's well maintained. It's pretty well regarded, and it's based on Python. And programming at the iSchool is primarily based on Python. That's been true for a long time, and it's been especially true since we began to include so many data science courses in our curriculum. Um, so, is the Django framework the only framework? Is it the framework to end all frameworks? No, it's not. There's a whole bunch of frameworks, and we'll learn about that in the course. And whether or not you're going to choose a particular framework for a particular project has to do with what the requirements are for the project. And part of the final project that we're going to be doing is going to be trying to investigate. We're going to do, you're going to do your final project with Django, but you're going to do a little bit of investigation of if you weren't going to use Django, what if you picked another back-end web framework? How suited would that be? The course uses a flipped classroom model. Um, I don't, for the most part, lecture in class. There are not a whole lot of lectures in this particular course, but most of the things where I talk a lot are recorded. And the main thing for this course is a bunch of tutorials. And so if I'm not going to be lecturing or doing tutorial demonstrations in class, what are we going to do? Um, well, we're going to break up and talk about stuff. Okay, we'll talk about the most recent assignments. We'll talk about how you're doing in choosing your final project and how that's coming along, all those kinds of things. Okay, and because we'll do a lot of things outside of class, we probably won't always use a 2 hour class time, and that's going to leave us some time at the end for some uh, lab time where you can get some help with either your weekly coding assignment or with your final project. The summer version of this course is accelerated. I've typically taught this course in a normal length semester, like the spring or the fall, and it would be taught in 16 weeks. In the summer, we're squeezing it into 12. Now, the longer semesters always have a holiday week, so we're really accelerating it by about 3 weeks. But it's a jam-packed course, so it is going to take a lot of your attention and time. Okay, so be prepared to invest the time to get the benefit out of the course. It's a hands-on coding course where you're going to learn by doing. I often kid and say things like, I don't care what you know, I only care what you can do. And of course, I care what you know. But the thing is that in the professional world of, uh, of system development, people are really measured by what they can do. What can they design? What can they develop? So the hands-on aspect of this course should help you a lot. Um, in this course, you'll be doing a lot of doing. You'll be doing 12 coding assignments and a final project. Now, the 12 coding assignments will all kind of work like this, okay? There'll be some tutorial that you're following, okay? And it won't show you exactly how to do everything. The tutorial will cover exactly kind of keystroke by keystroke how to do, you know, half of the assignment. And then the other half, you're expected to extrapolate on that and do the rest by yourself. We do one big tutorial project together. It's called Easy University, or EasyU for short. And again, it's a follow the leader thing where I do these tutorial videos and I show you how to do two or three of what we're going to do for the week. And then you do another five or six on your own. Okay. And then the final project is a similar project to this tutorial EasyU project, but it's a project that you picked. And it should be in its character and size, kind of like EasyU. And so in the beginning weeks of the semester, we're going to be working to help you pick a project to do. Okay. And then what we're going to expect you to do is to be developing your final project throughout the semester, a week or two behind this EasyU project. Okay? And when you're done, you've got a project that you can use. It could be a portfolio piece. It could be something that you want to use for a hobby, or it could be something that you just did for the course that you don't have any continuing interest in. But of course, I hope you do have a continuing interest. Um, so my last point here, the final project is a project that you're going to design and build using Django, and you're going to choose what you're going to do. So it's going to be something that you're truly interested in. So you've got something to take home with you. Okay, let's move along here. Okay, the Canvas site. So let me pull over our Canvas site and talk about that. At the top of our page, we always have the most recent 3 announcements. If you want to see all the announcements, there's a link over here on the panel on the left. The most recent announcement is when I announced today at 5 p.m. That our class time for tomorrow is later than we thought. Okay? That was exciting. Then the layout of the rest of the page is probably different than you've seen a lot of your courses at the iSchool. The iSchool folks, the technical folks, they came up with a template that a lot of people use and has a lot of nice information on it, but it's pretty easy to get lost. It's very information rich. Instead, this format I use is what they call the module format. And I've created, let's see, each of these rectangular blocks is a module block. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 of these module blocks. Okay. And the first one's just kind of general information about the course. It has the number and the name of the course and when we meet. And then there's a link to the syllabus There's eventually going to be a link to this document called a road map, which I don't have together yet. The one I have together is for the 16-week course. I need to redo it for this 12-week version. Um, I'm hoping to have that tomorrow night. And then there's a link to the weekly schedule. Okay. Um, and we'll be going through the syllabus. We'll be going through the schedule. We want to go through the roadmap in this recording because, again, uh, I have to revise it for the summer version. The next page here, please set your preferred name using the university's self-service application. Um, I want to call you what you want to be called, and you can use this university provided self-service application to change the name within limitations that you're going to be called on Zoom and Canvas. And what I want you to do is if if the name that's there is not currently how you call or yourself or you identify yourself, well, go and make the changes. Help us be respectful of you and identify you how you want to be identified. Okay. Um, let's see. Getting help in iSchool quick links. So I took the parts um, of the iSchool layout for the front page of your Canvas site and I extracted the handy links to information that I thought you might want, and I plunked them onto this page. So there's good things here. Okay. Um, let's see. Open discussion forum. Okay. We have an open discussion forum. Um, it's for you folks to communicate with each other. Okay. If you want to communicate with me and ask a question or get some help, I've got this help desk thing that we call the service desk, and I want you to go there because I will not be monitoring this closely enough that if you ask a question that needs an urgent answer, that you'll get it in a satisfactory way. But it's a great place to correspond and exchange ideas with your classmates. Um, Zoom meetings. Okay, so tomorrow I'm going to schedule all the Zoom meetings. Okay, and that's going to be easier now that I know what time we're actually meeting. And when you click through on this, you're going to see a list of all the classes and all of the optional lab sessions that we're going to have. I promise to have it ready to go before our class tomorrow evening. Okay? It's just been very hard to get everything up as we move from the spring to the summer. The next content block or module is how to contact us. And in this case, us means me. Um, there are times when I've taught this course when we've got, I think, 50 people in the course. So it's me and a TA and a grader and a cast of thousands. This summer, I think I've got 9 students. It'll be me. I'll be doing the grading. I'll be doing everything. Contact us means contact me. Um, Instructor and TA details, just information about me. Now, don't send me email, okay? Because I'll lose it, I promise, okay? I have this thing called the service desk, and I'll give you a little more detail on that in just a minute. And if you use that, well, then your question or your request is not going to get lost. Okay. It's not that I don't want to hear from you, it's that I don't want to lose your question or your request. We have a page here about how to use the service desk for this course. And this thing is called a service desk because it's implemented with a product from Atlassian software called Jira Service Management. And before that was called Jira Service Desk. And so each project that you set up is called a service desk. And I set one up for each course I teach. And there's a link here that will take you to the portal for that service desk. So if I click on that, because I'm logged in, I go right to the portal page, and I'm ready to I'm ready to open a ticket on the help desk. Is what it really comes down to. Okay, this is just for our course. This is for your section in this course. And I'm looking at this, and maybe this is this ACG, ACU, or is this OCG, OCU? I might have to work on that a bit. I'm not sure the section letters are what they're supposed to be. But I'm only teaching one IS439, so when you get to this, you're in the right place. Okay? Now let's go back to the Canvas page. There's also a link here to a general page. There's this service desk introduction page, which explains how it works and all that kind of stuff. And the links to each of the service desks are down here at the bottom. And so this summer I'm teaching a 430 and a 439, and that's why I've got the two links right here. Okay. And then if we go back up to the main page, you'll see that I have, well, I have a couple things. I have this tips on how to play my videos, and I hope that you've already played this. You've probably already figured out that I have kind of a slow delivery pace. And that works for me speaking, but doesn't always work for you listening. So that video tells you how to use the YouTube features so that you're playing my recordings at just the right speed for you. And then here's the link, how to use the service desk for this course should be able to help you kind of understand how it works and get it all done. Okay, so there are two more content blocks. One is a list of all the assignments. So it's called Submit Assignments. And pretty soon I'm going to have published all of them. I need to change the dates from the dates that they had in the spring. That's all I really do. I need to change. So again, there are 12 coding assignments, and there's one final project. In the spring, we had a framework evaluation paper. In the interest of the summer acceleration, I've taken that paper and I've turned it into kind of a section in the final project. So it's going to be smaller and not a separate assignment. So that won't be showing up. So those are going to be there. You probably don't see them on your page quite yet. You probably just see more content coming soon. And then the very last of the modules I have is I have the assignment solutions. So I will, on the day right before we have our class, I'm going to publish my official solution for the assignment that we did. And so if you need to compare how you did to what I did, you'll have the opportunity to do that. And you'll have the opportunity to ask about maybe why I did what I did. given that that's not what you were expecting, right? And again, these are not published. They won't be published until the day of. So you're probably just seeing more assignment solution content coming soon. Okay? So that's what's going on Canvas. Okay? All right, what's coming next? The weekly schedule. So the weekly schedule is our authoritative source for what's going on in the course. Um, there are features that cover this kind of thing in Canvas, but I don't find them very good. And I've had my own weekly schedule application that I've been using since, I don't know, 2016 or something like that, a long time. And I have improved it year after year. So, when you follow the link to the weekly schedule, you come to this index of weeks page. So we've got 12, and the number of the week is the link to the page for that week. So if we click on the number one, we'll come to week one. Okay, and this essentially will tell you what's going on that week. And essentially there's a content box for each event that happens during the week. So in a typical week, the first thing is we have our uh, optional lab session. We had one today at 4 p.m. The next thing that we typically have is we have a weekly deadline for hand-in assignments. Um, that usually happens right before class on Tuesday, but there's not going to be a deadline to hand things in this week because there are no prior assignments. And then the next thing that we have is the class itself. And this identifies the topics for the week, the readings that you're expected to do here. The reading for the week is the syllabus. I don't have the roadmap ready yet. There's a Wikipedia article on what frameworks that I pointed you to. I have a list of required recordings that I want you to play. Here's where you can find the link on how to play my videos. And this lecture that you're listening to now is going to be a link right here. Okay, so you have already found that link or you wouldn't be listening. And one of the biggest things we're going to do in class is just introduce ourselves. Now, since we have such a small group, we'd probably be able to do a little bit more than that. Again, I've had as many as 50 people in this class. So, and it looks like I've got about 9 or 10. So we're going to have a really kind of intimate class where we can talk about a lot of stuff. Okay, so read the description of what I'm looking for when you introduce yourself. Okay, now I haven't filled in the full schedule. I don't have all the detail for all the weeks, but I think I've got the first 5 or 6. Now, why don't I have it all there? Well, you'll remember that we're accelerating the course. So we have to get essentially 15 weeks into 12. So that means I need to double up 3 assignments. Okay, and that takes a little bit of work. But the beginning weeks, there's no room for doubling up. So I gave you the beginning weeks, and I'll go through those here. But I think that goes to week 5 or 6, and then I have a lot of under construction. Okay, I hope to get it all together before we get together for class in week 2. All right. So that's what's going on here. So the next week, okay, we have a lab session on Monday. Okay, now we have this weekly assignments deadline. So here are a bunch of stuff that needs to be done. Okay, now this is essentially what the work for week 1. right? The week one work is due on week two, right? It's due on Tuesday of week two, right before class. So even though this shows up as a deadline for week two, get started on this as soon as you can. Some of the links are not populated yet. I hope to have them up in the next couple of days, okay? But there'll definitely be things that you can do. So let's see. It includes send a greetings post to the service desk for this course. You should be able to do that today. Choose your computer. You should be able to do that today. Uh, the next two things I'm going to have you install uh, Anaconda, which is essentially a virtual environment manager, and PyCharm Professional, which is an IDE, an integrated development environment. And I don't have the links up for these things because um, there's been changes in how we're doing these things in the last couple of months, and I need to re-record the videos. So I do one for Mac OS and I do one for Windows. And so over the course of this week, I'll be doing these four, the two for Anaconda and the two for PyCharm Professional. And right now, my best guess is I'll have those up by Thursday, May 18th. Um, you're going to be making some use of the Git version control system. And if you already know Git, then you probably want to begin to use it at the very beginning of the course. Okay. In terms of how little you can do with Git and how late you can begin to work with it, you only absolutely have to have it for a deployment assignment that's probably going to happen in week 10 or week 11. Okay. But get going with Git, and here are some activities to do. Okay, and then one of the things that we're going to do is we're going to deploy this EasyU tutorial application on an ISP called Python Anywhere. And in order to do the deployment, of course, you need a Python Anywhere account. So we want to get you working on that. Again, when are you really going to do that deployment? Well, probably in week 10. Okay, but you can start working on that now. And there's a link to this free book on Git. Okay. Then the new material for week 2 that we're going to be covering is we're going to be using this Vincent book, um, uh, Django for Beginners. And chapters 1, 2, and 3, 4 are just easy getting started things. And chapter 5 is a real kind of a first tutorial on building a little Django application. And I typically begin this course with some project like this that's based upon a published tutorial. Will Vincent is, in fact, a thing to keep your eye out for. Will Vincent has a new version of his book. I just saw he tweeted last week that um, I think that he changed a couple things about his book. A couple things had gone out of date in the year since he published it. So, especially if you buy an electronic copy of his book, which you probably will, that usually includes being able to download the updates. So, even if you didn't get the updated version, you should be able to go back to the publisher site and get the updated version. But Will Vincent kind of is the guy. You know, he's kind of the Python guy, the Django guy these days, and he's a good place to start. Okay. Um, in this particular week, we're not going to have a lab on Monday because Monday's a holiday. So there's a makeup lab available on Sunday morning. Okay. And when I say not on Monday, I mean Monday, the 29th, Memorial Day. Okay. So that's week two. Week three. Um, this is the assignment where you hand in the chapter five, the tutorial in chapter five of the Vincent book. I'm not having you do one, two, three, and four to hand in, but you can play with them. I mean, depending upon how much you know about this stuff, they're kind of a good, easy way to get started. Um, the idea about doing one of these kind of small tutorial projects up front is the tutorial project that we build, this easy university tutorial project, it kind of unwinds over like 8 weeks. If you were to wait 8 weeks to figure out what Django did and what these kind of frameworks do, um, it'd be hard to take the suspense. You need to experience it more upfront quickly. And so that's what the Vincent tutorial does. Okay. And Vincent's books are all tutorial oriented. So the first tutorial that we have is chapter five in the Vincent book. Then, having done that, the new material for the week is about conceptual data modeling. So, Django is based upon um, relational databases. I mean, could you use another data structure, data store with Django? Yeah, you could, but Django has this thing called the Django model. Um, uh, which the Django model capability is called an ORM, an object relational mapper. And so there's really good support for using relational databases. And so a good prospect for a Django app is um, a bunch of data that's easily represented in a relational database. So we're not assuming that you've done the three parts of relational database design, which are conceptual data modeling. That's what we're doing in this week. And then step two is called logical database design. That's what we do next week. And step three is called physical database design and implementation, and that's what we do the week after that. Okay, so because this whole because this whole framework is so database oriented, we want to stop here and make sure that we do a really good job of understanding database design, because if your database design is deficient, then your final project is going to be deficient as well. Conversely, the better your relational database design, the more useful and exciting and fun your final project is going to be. So that's what we do here in this week three. We're doing conceptual data modeling. We go into week four and um, we have the hand-in assignment for conceptual data modeling. A conceptual data model is an entity relationship diagram, which we're going to draw with Lucid Chart, with the free educational version of Lucid Chart. Okay, and then in week four, the new content is going to be about logical database design. Which is step two of designing relational databases. Okay, and then as we move into week five, the first thing we're going to do is hand in the assignment for logical database design. And then the new material is going to be uh, the third step of designing and implementing relational databases. But in Django, you do that by creating this thing called the Django model. Okay, so instead of creating a classic SQL schema, which is what you would do in a typical database, of course, when you weren't using Django, what we do is we create these Python classes called model classes. And essentially, there's a model class for each relational table. Okay. And so then who creates the relational database schema? Well, Django does, because once we have all the model classes, we do this thing called a migration, and Django magically uh, writes all the schemas from the Django model classes, and it builds a relational database for us. Okay, so that's all the content I have. Oh, and then we have a hand in of the Django model the next week, so that's in week 6. Okay, and then so what are we going to do to the Django model for? Well, we're going to do this for our big tutorial project, Easy University or EasyU. Okay, and then the coding assignments for the rest of the semester are going to be features that we add to EasyU. Okay, and the model assignment is the first thing. This kicks off EasyU. Okay, and again, I would put all the assignments for the rest of the semester here, but I need to double up uh, 3 of them. Okay, and I will get that done within the next week. All right, so that's this, and so you'll see here we go on to the next week. We just have under construction, and then the week after that, I do want to point out that in week 8 we don't have a proper class. Okay, so we'll have an assignment to hand in. Okay, I'll probably record a lecture. Okay, or I'll probably record something. We may have a makeup session. Again, we don't have a lot of people, so if we can agree on some other time in the week that we want to meet and not miss a class, well, we'll figure that out. But we're going to keep working along. We can't, in a 12-week course, we can't throw away a whole week. That's the kind of thing you could maybe do in a 16-week course. But for sure, the university won't allow us to meet on a Tuesday. So you'll keep that in mind. Okay, I've had to deal with this in other summer semesters, and there's always a way to keep the course moving along and take care of everybody. So I don't have the details on that yet. It's one of the things we'll talk about tomorrow night. Week 9 is another typical week. Week 10 is a typical week. Week 11 is a typical week. Week 12 is different, okay? Week 12, the final project is due, okay? And obviously, we're not going to be covering any new material, right? So the final project is due on Thursday, August 3rd at the very end of the day. All right, so that's the schedule. I don't have all the detail up, but again, I think I had all the detail for 5 weeks and the beginning of the 6th. And that's pretty good to get you started on what we're going to be doing. Okay, so that's reviewing the weekly schedule. And again, if I put more content up on Canvas, or I change the content on the weekly schedule, or if I change the syllabus, I'm going to make an announcement, okay, in Canvas. All right. So let's review the weekly schedule. Oh, we did that. I'm sorry. Review the syllabus. Okay. I'm not going to go through every word of the syllabus, and you don't want me to because, well, it'll really bore you. Okay. I mean, I want you to read the syllabus. So if I'm going to talk about every word of it, well, that's a lot of duplication. So instead, I'm going to give you highlights, but I want to remind you that you need to read the entire thing and understand it. And if you have any questions, please come to me with your questions. Okay? All right. So the syllabus is over here. Okay, so summer 2023, I'm the instructor. I don't think we'll have a course assistant unless we get a bunch of late registrations. I've highlighted that we're meeting from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. on Zoom. The links will be up there on the Canvas page in time for us to start on time. These optional lab sessions are just that, they're optional. They're chances for you to get help and talk about things that didn't fit into the class format. Okay. Um, I take the students on a first come first served basis, and I just answer their questions and help them with their problems. Okay. Uh, the first opportunity for this is at the end of, it'll be at the end of our class on Tuesday. Again, we've only got 9 or 10 students. Um, you know, will will classes last 2 hours from 6 to 8? No, probably we won't make it to 8. Okay. Will they last until 7:15? Yeah, they'll probably last at least until 7:15. Again, I've recorded a lot of stuff and you're going to be playing it. So on Tuesday nights, there'll be time at the end where I can help you. We'll have some lab time. And usually I can hang around. So if you've got further questions that go beyond 8 p.m., I'll hang around. And then Monday from 4 to 5, we have our own dedicated lab. Okay. What if you have a question and it's not one of those times? Well, you can go to the service desk and open a ticket and then ask for help. Okay. So you can do that. Because I have all these help opportunities, I don't have conventional established open office hours. To an extent, that's what the labs are. But if you need to set up an individual meeting with me, especially if you need to talk about something confidential, well, then just open a ticket and request a meeting and we'll set one up on Zoom. Okay. Contracting the instructor or the course assistants, that's all me. So there's a link here to the service desk for this course that came up over here. And again, um, there's a link to the video on how to find out all about that um, on our Canvas page. If you're having trouble getting connected to the service desk and you need help, you're having some kind of an emergency with the class, and the service desk has become some kind of uh, unmanageable black hole. When on an emergency basis, you can contact me using my phone. Okay. So, the course catalog description and the detailed course description, um, are pretty lengthy, and I'm going to want you to read them, but I'm not going to talk about all the details. Um, the fact is that these kind of dynamic web applications um, are rarely written from scratch these days. They're typically created using some kind of framework or frameworks. Um, in the early days of frameworks, there were only these back end web application frameworks like Django. And that's what we're going to explore. In more recent years, there have been some frameworks created for the browser um, that allow developers to create rich experiences in single page browser applications. And the only thing that they get from the backend framework is the data. The backend framework serves the data. Now, we can certainly talk about the combination of a front end and a back end framework, but a front end framework course is a whole other course. So I'm glad to talk about it, but we're not going to do it. Okay. But if you're going to be creating some substantial web application, it's probably going to make sense to adopt one of these backend frameworks or other. And I don't offer Django as a silver bullet. Like, it's not the perfect backend web framework. It's a good one, okay? It has it's very feature rich, and so when we explore its features, then we come to understand what kind of features these frameworks have. Um, but there's at least 40 good backend web frameworks. Okay. So another thing that we're going to talk about throughout the course is, okay, well then how do you pick one? Okay, we like Django because it's a mature product, it's a popular product, and it's based on Python, and we're really emphasizing Python at the iSchool. So it's a winner for us. Okay, well, what if we didn't want to pick Django? Then how would we pick something? And our point of view for the course is going to be, it's going to be based on the requirements of the project. We're going to have some functional requirements, just the behavior that the application has to be able to do. And most frameworks can support most functional requirements. There are some cases where one framework would have a functionality advantage over others, and we'll talk about that. But it's the non-functional requirements that really drive the choice of framework. For instance, you may work for an organization that says you can use any framework that's Java based. Well, that's definitely not Django or Flask or Ruby on Rails or any of a whole bunch of things that are not based on Java, right? So we're not going to study all the possible frameworks, but we are going to talk about other frameworks. And part of your final project is going to be answering the question, if you didn't use Django for this, then what would you pick? Okay, so that it's an opportunity to go explore other frameworks in a really managed, constrained problem that will fit into the amount of time we have in the summer. Okay, so that's what's going on there. The prereqs, you have to understand websites. So We're going to be using HTML and CSS. Do you have to be an HTML and CSS whiz kid? You do not. You just have to be able to recognize the parts, because a lot of these parts you're going to be following a tutorial, and as long as you kind of understand what those parts do, um, you'll be fine. Uh, you have to know Python, okay? And the kind of depth of Python we want you to know is about what we teach in our IS430 course. Okay, so you should be a solid, you should be like a late beginner, early intermediate in Python. And if you're a little weaker than that, then start to bone up. Okay. Now, do you have to have previous experience in creating one of these dynamic websites using some other framework tool like PHP? No, you don't, but it helps. I talked to one of our students earlier this evening, and he's done a lot of work with PHP. Well, I think that'll add to our conversations in class. And there may be other people who have used kind of other frameworks and other tools to create dynamic websites. Well, that'll just enrich our experience. But if the only thing that you've done are static web pages with HTML and CSS, you'll do fine. And then experiencing and using relational databases is helpful, but not required, because we go over relational databases, and we go over how to design them, and how to do conceptual data modeling and logical database design. And to do this course, you don't have to know SQL, because we don't use SQL inside of Django. We use Django features, and these Django features generate the SQL. Okay, so one of the reasons that I didn't want to require having had the database course is I didn't want people to show up here having learned all their SQL and find out that we didn't need it. Okay, so I have a list of things that you ought to be able to do after you take the course, and these are all things that you'll have done in the course. Okay. Um, the only book that you need to buy for this is the Vincent book. Okay. Django for beginners. And it's available at either Amazon or through his site. Okay. Again, I had a Twitter exchange with him just last week where he was saying that he was going to have the new version up on his site. I can't say that we're going to be using anything that you absolutely have to have the newest version of it. If you've got the version that I show here, you'll do fine. But when you buy the when you buy the book from Will Vincent, he includes updates. The other books that we're using, the Pinkham book and the ProGit book, are available for free to us on the O'Reilly.com site. I would not be buying those. Okay, the ones that I would have you buy would be the Will Vincent book. Um, it, and then this last book on relational database design and data modeling by Andy Oppel. That's available on the O'Reilly site as well, and I wouldn't buy that one. The O'Reilly site is really quite the resource. Technology requirements. Okay, so you need a computer that runs a recent version of Windows 10 or Windows 11 or Mac OS. Okay, it doesn't have to be the one from 2 days ago, but it should be pretty well up to date. Okay, and what are we going to use? We're going to use Anaconda. We're going to use PyCharm Professional. There are other versions of PyCharm, and there's a community version that's always free. Uh, it doesn't support Django well, okay, and so you are going to want to follow the directions that I've provided and get a free license available to university people for PyCharm Professional. We're going to be using Git, and the desktop client that I prefer these days for Git is this GitHub desktop, and that's what I, I recommend that you use too. Um, when you're installing these, I have tutorials that I'm about to re-record that you should be able to just do a follow the leader. And I've got one set for Windows and one set for Mac OS. Um, these products are supported on Linux, but if there's a student who's going to be using like a Linux laptop, you had better know more about Linux than me because I won't really be able to support you. So if you intend to do that, have a conversation with me and give me the opportunity to talk you out of it. There's a link here to our weekly schedule. Okay, and when we make changes, I'll post a Canvas announcement. Uh, we've got the readings, so each week we'll have some readings that I'll intend for you to do. I'm pretty candid when I talk about the readings that you'll be doing for the week ahead. Um, there are certain parts of the readings that are more important than others. The Pinkham book that we use, the beginnings of the chapters are really useful. The ends of the chapters have kind of dated tutorial stuff in them. So I'll try to be clear about how to spend your reading time. Lectures and tutorial videos. I've got more tutorial videos. I'm sorry, lectures and lecture videos. I don't have a whole lot of them here. If I have them, like this one here, play it. Tutorial videos, I've got two kinds. One where we're installing software that I talked about already, and then the other ones where we're doing the kind of follow the leader stuff as we develop this EasyU application. Play them. They work really well if you're trying to do follow the leader if you have a computer with two or more monitors because um, I find it very helpful, and I know a lot of my students do when they're trying to follow along with a tutorial to be able to kind of pause the video and then go do their work for a while and then play a little more video and then do a little more work. And you can certainly do that if you have only one screen. It's just you've got to be a little bit more facile with the user interface. We've got weekly coding assignments, okay, that you're going to be doing. Um, and we'll be talking about those more and more. A typical coding assignment is you'll follow a tutorial in order to do the assignment. The tutorial, a couple tutorials, I show you all the code. A more average tutorial, I show you a little bit less than half the code. But it's sort of the nature of these web frameworks is that there's a lot of code cloning. Okay, so I'll show you how to do something that works for one of the relational tables like this. EZU application has has 8 main database tables. I think there's actually 10, but 2 of them are kind of hidden. And I'll show you how to write the code that relates to 3, and then I'll expect you to extrapolate on that and do the other 5. Okay? We will kind of review the solution a bit in class. I try not to belabor it too much because we've all done the same assignment. And there's a lot of follow the leader, but there is a good opportunity in class to ask questions if you have some. And I will be publishing my version of the solution each week. So on these coding assignments, there's a grading deal that I have that works like this. If you hand them in on time and you follow the directions and you make a good faith effort on all parts, regardless of how badly you do, you can't score less than 85. But if you hand them in late, you can't score more than 84. And why is that? Well, it's so we can talk about the solutions in class. Okay. The final project, let's see. You'll be expected to plan, gather requirements for, design, code, and test a web application using Django as your final project. The detailed instructions will be coming in a couple weeks. I just need to tune them up a little bit for the summer. The web application should fully demonstrate the back-end web application framework features covered in the class. I have a list of the framework features that you have to use. It's not all of the ones that we cover in the class, but most. The web application should include significant add, change, delete, a database functionality. So full database functionality is often referred to as CURD or CRUD. So you need to create a full CRUD application. And that's what EZU is. So that's what you're emulating. And ideally, the web application should be sufficiently interesting that you're likely to continue to develop it when you're done with the course, that it's a real asset for you. The final project is not a group assignment. Now, we'll talk about it in groups. We'll try to encourage each other a bit and try to give each other ideas, but the final project is an individual assignment. Attendance at class is an iSchool requirement. I do realize that for one reason or other, you might miss a class. If you miss a class, play the recording. Okay? A significant part of your grade, 10% of it, is going to be based upon your participation point score. And I have a link to things that you earn. I have a list of things that you earn participation points for. I'll talk about them in a little more detail in a minute where I show you what the points are. Okay, so here's the thing. We're not grading attendance, but we are grading participation, and you can't earn most of the participation points if you're not there. Okay, so are we grading attendance or not? Well, you decide. I have a whole list of grading policies here. Now, years ago, as I said, I've been teaching here for 15 years. In the beginning, I didn't have a section like this. And then over the years, people have had misunderstandings and problems and didn't have the right expectations. What's happened is that I've created a section like this and it's grown. Now I kid that it's about the size of the contract to lease a car, which isn't absolutely true, but it's a fun exaggeration. So I'm just going to give you the highlights, okay? Remember that the iSchool and the university have their own grading policies, so you should be aware of those. Careful attention to detail is required, okay? This kind of work is very detail oriented, so we're going to expect you to uh, when you do your work to get all the details correct. Sometimes that may be more detailed than you're thinking of. Okay, so you really have to pay attention. Assignment resubmissions are not permitted after the assignment deadline. So let's say you complete your coding assignment and you hand it in early, and then you're talking to a friend, or you're just kind of thinking, you go, oh, I should have done such and such. Well, if the assignment isn't due yet, just hand in another version. We'll mark the latest one, okay? But if we've passed the deadline, then that's it, okay? Now, that's the reason I have this 85 deal, okay? Because if you hand these things in on time and you make a good faith effort on all parts, if you forget something or you miss something, you're going to wind up with 85. That's not going to sink your grade in the course, okay? Um, one of the reasons we don't allow the resubmissions is we'd be grading forever. These assignments take forever to grade, so if we're going to do them 2 and 3 times, it's not going to be feasible. If you need a deadline extension, just ask for one, but do it before the deadline. There'll be a penalty for late submission. So again, if you hand these things in on time for the coding assignments and you make a good faith effort on all parts and you follow the submission directions, you'll get at least an 85. If you've handed in late, you can't score more than 84. So you definitely don't want to be handing it in late. Assignments submitted too late will not be graded. If you go later than the dates I have here, okay, and read the details here, and you still need to hand something in, then you can request an extension to hand it in late and still get it graded. We'll charge you for lateness, but we'll grade it. What we can't have is we can't have you waiting until the end of the semester and handing everything in, because we won't have the bandwidth to grade it. Grade adjustments will be limited to automatic rounding. So I've had so many emails and calls and hallway conversations with students who are so concerned because they're just on the edge of the next letter grade. Okay, they're just in between an A minus and an A, or just in between a B plus and an A minus. And if they only had one more point and blah blah. No, the only thing we're going to do is we're going to take fractional scores, like if your score on an assignment is 83.6, well, then we're going to round that to 84. If your score on an assignment is 92.4, well, then it's going to be 92. And if you were really close to something that you didn't get, well, that's sad, but all we're going to do is rounding. Regrading requests made to the service desk will be given fair consideration. So every assignment that we grade, we send a feedback form so you can understand what we deducted for, okay? So if you read that and you go, I don't think they get what I was doing. I think I really deserve more points. Well, then you can open up a ticket on the ticket system and ask us to take another look, and we'll give it a fair look. And it, if you're right and you deserve some more points, then we'll give them to you. Extra credit reports, extra credit opportunities are not available. Um, we already have that 85 deal. So no matter how wrong things go on an assignment, you can't tank your whole semester grade by a stupid mistake. So uh, there's no extra credit opportunities. The next one, the expected grade for assignment submissions that meet all expectations is 95. So each assignment that we have has two kinds of exercises, regular and challenge. Okay. So there'll be one or more regular ones. And if you get all the points, all those, it'll add up to 95. The last 5 points are usually one challenge exercise, and they're hard to get. It's hard to get from a 95 to 100. Okay, if you decide that you're not going to do the challenge exercise, well, then you're not going to get the last 5 points. Uh, this is the score guarantee for 85. I leave that for you to read. The participation points, okay? So making a greetings post to the service desk within the first 2 weeks will get you 10 participation points. Speaking and introducing yourself during our first class, just the first one, will get you another 10. And then you can earn other points in class. Okay. Um, um, at the end of the semester, I add all these up. Right. I keep a book when we're having class, and I just keep writing them down. Okay. And at the end of the semester, I add them all up and I see what everybody gets. And then your participation grade is graded on a curve, and the formula for the curve is down here. Okay, so what we do is we take the points that other people earn and we figured out what percentile you're in. So if you're in the top 50, uh, if you're in the top 50% of the class in terms of your participation, you get at least a 90. Okay. If you uh, if you are in the 10th percentile, uh, you get 70. If you have less than 10 participation points, you get 0. Okay, and participation is 10% of the grade. So, of course, if you get a 70, well, then you get 7 of those 10 points. If you get a 0, then you've lost all 10 points. So, take these opportunities seriously. Okay. Um, Academic integrity is really important stuff. Okay. Generally speaking, we want you to do your own work independently and not to copy things. Now, the exception to that is that we have a lot of tutorial stuff where you're doing follow the leader. So anything that we give you for follow the leader, well, you're expected to type that in and do it. And I give you quite a few starter files, and you're allowed to take the starter files and just include them in your work. So there is some stuff that by its very nature, we want you to include in your work. But we don't want you copying work of your classmates or work from people who took this course in a prior semester or our published solutions from a prior semester. You're certainly able to consult Chat GPT and those kinds of products. And you're able to look at whatever they have to say. But you're not allowed to just copy the code and put it into your program. Can you look at that code and put that on another screen and use that to kind of what I can say, inspire your coding? Sure, you can. Okay. Um, I come from the school of programming teachers who believe that actually typing in the code and getting it to work is a good learning method. And people have been kind of teaching like this for more than 50 years, you know uh, learning by typing in the code. And of course, we show you some code and we expect you to type that in exactly. And then the rest of it, we expect you to dream up and type in. So that typing in the code and formulating it really yourself, that's a major part of the course. So don't be copying things that are not allowed to be copied, where you're going to get yourself in uh, an academic integrity problem that is going to be ugly and you're not going to want to be part of. Here's where I say that starter files you can use, tutorial code. I'm expecting you to type it in yourself. I'm not expecting, one person to type it in and then five people copy it. No, that's not. It's the typing in that's the learning activity. I know that might not seem like that to you, but there's a tradition in programming teaching that says that this is a good way to learn. Um, The grade is going to be 10% for participation, 45% for the coding assignments, and 45% for the final project. Uh, the letter grade is going to be calculated over the from this table, and I got this table when I came to the iSchool 15 years ago from one of my colleagues. People, I think, use pretty much this one, and this has served me pretty well, so that's what we're going to use. And here's a reminder again. Um, we're just going to round. We're just going to do the math, okay? If that means that you're half a point away from the grade, from the letter grade that you really wanted, and that's not supported by rounding, well, then we can't do it. And the very last thing I want to talk about here is this iSchool and university academic policies. And that this is kind of an interesting section because, on one hand, these are all kind of weighty, really important things. On the other hand, these should read the same in every syllabus for every course that you take, okay? So if you've really seen them before and you really understand them and you really have no questions, great, okay? But the things that are here, like what it takes to get an incomplete grade, or what constitutes an academic integrity violation, and what are the consequences, and they're pretty serious. Or what do we mean by inclusion, and what does that have to do with how we treat each other at the university and in the classroom? Or what could be done about religious observances that you want to honor? Or what's available in terms of accessibility accommodations? Or, and I guess this last thing is getting a little dated, COVID 19. what are our expectations with regard to COVID-19 related health. So these things are all pretty important stuff. So if you have any questions, come to me and I'll help you to answer them. And even more importantly, if you need help with any of these things, I might not be the person to actually give you the help, but I'm a person who can steer you to it. Okay? So that's the syllabus. Okay, so read the details. Any questions, I'd be glad to answer in class. Okay. So I'm looking forward to seeing you tomorrow night. I'm sorry I got this thing up so late. Hoping that you'll get a chance to play this before the class. If not, I'll be telling you to play it when we're in class. Uh, Tomorrow night, I'll tell you to play it as soon as you can. This is a really fun class. I always have a good time. I think the students do too. We have a nice small group. Everybody will get plenty of attention, and we'll be able to talk about a lot of things in depth that we otherwise might not get the opportunity to do. So I'm going to sign off here, and I'll see you tomorrow night. Good night, everybody. Bye bye.